Hi and welcome to Quilting with Lori. My name is Lori Dickman and today we are on month number 6 of my 2023 block of the month, which is the Friendship Bouquet Quilt. I love how it turned out. It's just, oh, it so speaks of spring, and here in Rockford, Illinois, I cannot wait for spring. We have been having nothing but snow and very, very, very cold, bitter temperatures for a number of weeks now. So I have made a couple of these. The quilt that you see here is a nice spring theme, and with this one I am making it with some fall fabrics, which I think is also very beautiful. I think for this one though, I am going to make different borders. I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do, but I'll have a video out there and I'll show you how that is done. For those of you who are registered for this 2023 block of the month Friendship Bouquet Quilt, you would have received the email with the instructions and the templates to make the block that we're going to be learning today, and that's the striped basket block. And we're going to make 24 of these to go around the border, and then you made these 4 nosegay blocks last week. They're going to go in the corners of the outside border. So I've got you at the tabletop here to show you some of these blocks. I think what I'm going to do, this was my nosegay block that we had done. It was actually last month, not last week, that we did these 4 corner nosegay blocks. I am going to switch this out. I think I'm going to make this a yellow, and so I'm going to switch that light blue block or square out from each of these, including the 2 that are on the wall already in the quilt, and I think a yellow is going to be quite pretty there, so I'm going to get that fixed. Now I've got a couple of these blocks ready to go. They're the striped basket. You can, if you want, just create strip sets, and then you can cut your strip sets using a 6-inch, I guess do I have the 6-inch? Yes, I do have the 6-inch ruler here. Here is a 6-inch Omni Grid. There's a 45-degree diagonal line across there. You could simply place that diagonal line on the bottom of your strip set and then cut, and you'd be flipping and cutting. Now, one thing to remember, when you're using a strip set like that and flipping and cutting, every other triangle is reverse image. So on this triangle, you see the dark blue is at the top here with a long strip and the burgundy at the bottom. The next strip is going to have a long burgundy with a short blue. And if you don't mind having all of your baskets a little different, then certainly just go ahead and cut 24 of them using your 6-inch Omni Grid and your 4 strips here, and cut those out, and you're ready to go to start putting your block together. I chose to go ahead with the templates, and I did make the template. I made the templates on the plastic. They're all provided for those of you who are registered for the class. And I did this for 2 reasons. Number 1, I wanted all of my baskets to be identical. And number 2, the fabrics that I'm using, I just am using remnants from my stash. And I don't have a whole lot, so if I wanted to have all of my baskets identical, I'd have to make 48 of these strip sets, and that would allow me to have the 24 identical triangle baskets. And since I'm not sure that I'm going to have enough fabric to do that, I just went ahead and used the templates and created this block using that. So either way, totally up to you. I did use my marking pencil, and I just created all the different templates that I needed for the strip set on the basket as well as for the basket handles. And I have those right here. I'm going to keep those together like this. They disappear easily, so I've got them paper clipped. I'll put them in a baggie, and I will attach them to this so that I don't lose them, and I'll put that in my notebook. But here are those parts and pieces to this basket. So we'll start with the long blue one here, and then we'll be putting the green one. And of course, your colors are going to be completely different than mine, probably. We all have different fabrics that we're using, and we're going to sew those together. So here's my stack of the different templates I've cut, And I always write the color of the fabric I'm using on that template so I can easily identify that as I'm working. I've just sewn them together. This is not pressed yet at all, but there's the little basket. And what I'm going to be doing is pressing this, and then we're going to take the background fabrics, and the templates are in here for these triangles as well. I simply cut 4 3/4 inch strips of fabric, and then I cut them into squares, 4 3/4 inch squares, and then I just cut them on the diagonal, and that equated to the triangle that was in the template, and it just was an easy way to accomplish that. And so what you're going to do at this point is square off this bottom section of the basket with these 2 triangles. So I'll get that done. First I'm going to go press this, and then I'll get this put on there. And then I'll show you how I put together the top of this basket. So I've completed the little bottom portion of the basket, and I've pressed it. And make sure you have your little 1/4 inch seam allowance there. And then I'm going to show you how you make the top of the basket, and then they'll be sewn together. For the top of the basket, I literally cut with the fabric strips of my light in 4.5 inches wide, and then I cut them into squares that were 4.5 inches, and then I just cut them on the diagonal. And so here is what I did. Here's a 4.5 inch square cut on the diagonal. I placed the shorter pink basket handle on this side, pressed it toward the dark, as you can see there. It makes a nice straight edge down here. Then I grabbed the longer one and sewed it on the opposite side right there, as you can see. And so now you've got that long piece here that you need for your basket. Now we need to square off the basket, and we'll do the same thing as we did with the bottom. We're going to take these larger squares. These were the squares that were 4 3/4 inches that I cut on the diagonal, and I'm going to put those on each side of this basket handle and get it sewn on and squared up. Just to clarify, there are 2 triangles in your template pages here, and the larger one I cut my strips at 4 3/4 inch with the fabric strips, and that's for these outside 4 corners. This smaller one, it's a 4.5 inch square that I cut on the diagonal, so I cut 4.5 inch with the fabric strips, and then cut the squares and then cut them on the diagonal, and that is for this inside section right here. So these came from 4 3/4 inch squares that I cut on the diagonal. This one came from 4.5 inch squares that I cut on the diagonal. Now you're simply just going to sew these together and create your basket block. And each of these blocks, once it's sewn together, should square up at 8 1/4 inches square unfinished. It will end up being 7 3/4 inches square in the quilt, but just as a square, it needs to be squared up at 8 1/4 inches, so make sure you have all of those. I do need to finish those, and then I can attach my last row down here. And then you'll want to, what I did was I sewed 6 of them together and attached them to the side of the quilt, and then pressed the borders to the little tiny blue border. Then for the top and the bottom, I did already sew 6 of them together and put my nosegay at each side, making sure that my stems are facing in the center of the quilt. And then you can do the same thing down here and attach those longer rows. And then you can finish the outside, which is, in this case, I've got a burgundy border with cornerstones. I didn't put the cornerstones in the quilt that I've made. I might go back and do that as well. But, you know, that's an option for you, whichever you prefer. You might want your outside border to even be thicker. You know, this one is cut at 1 1/2 inches. It'll finish at 1 inch. So whatever you want to do, this is your quilt. Have fun with it. But that is how you'll complete this entire quilt. And it is done, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful quilt that I hope you have enjoyed putting together. I just want to thank you so much for joining me as we have worked on this friendship quilt. It's my 2023 Block of the Month quilt pattern, and it has been a fun one. You can work on this quilt at any time that you want. The pattern and the registration is still out on my website and will continue to be out there for you so that you can make this quilt at any time. You don't have to have worked with us as we have gone through this quilt the last 6 months. You can start it whenever you'd like. I have some more fun classes coming up. I do have a new Block of the Month for 2024 scheduled. I'm still working on that, but you'll be getting information from me. If you've gone out to my website and signed up for my newsletters, then you'll get information to learn when that Block of the Month comes out. I'm also going to be starting a free mystery quilt class in the month of March. It's typically on Monday nights. So again, if you have gone out to my website, quiltingwithlori.com, and signed up for my newsletters, then you'll get notified of that as well. And in all of my mystery quilt classes, I love to be able to teach you how to use your scrap stash. So that'll be a lot of fun. Check that out. I love seeing quilts and projects that you're all working on posted out on my Facebook group page. The link is below, so make sure you post things out there. It's always inspirational for all of us to see that. And if you do like the content that I provide, please don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment. I love to read the comments from my viewers. All of that really does help my channel to grow and to get out to other viewers just like yourself. So until next week, have a wonderful weekend and happy quilting.